Do you guys think Marisa Tomei is hot or what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a joke because the movie keeps telling us she's hot.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yo.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Hi.
And today we're going to be doing a mini-pod.
Spidey Pod.
A Spidey Pod.
Spidey Pod.
I like these. This is fun. We haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah, when was the last one?
Oh, it was like earlier in the year, right?
Yeah. Wow. It's been a while.
It
It's
has
been
been
a
a
minute.
while. It has been a while, but anyway, this Spider-Man Homecoming made about $750 billion.
It did just okay.
over the weekend. It might make its budget.
Might get a sequel.
Yeah, but we decided we would go in and see it and talk about it and give us the thoughts and everything. And who wants to kick us off?
Well, we're gonna start with some spoiler free.
Yeah.
Okay, I walked out of this movie. I went to it with my friend Jason and his two kids. And I walked out to the lobby and looked at him, and I go, "What'd you think?" He goes, "I loved it."
Mm-hmm.
And inside my head, I said, "I did too, but I'm not ready to say that." Because I wanted to put some time, because I have got a few major issues with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it had me smiling so damn much, I really didn't care. And I left the theater beaming. And it's been a long time since a movie's done that. So in the days since I saw it, I'm ready to move from really liked it to loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you see it in a crowded theater?
I did. It was basically packed.
Really?
Yeah.
So I bet the reactions were pretty good, because there's a lot of humor in
There's
this thing.
so much humor in here. Like I said in my tweet, this is the funniest non-Guardians Marvel movie ever.
Mhm.
It may even be funnier than the Guardians movies.
I think so.
It's really unexpectedly packed with laughs, and we'll get into the spoiler stuff later of the specific laughs that surprised me. But Tom Holland is just so magnetic.
Yep.
Like, how can you not like this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And they filled the cast with people who were just as good. I've never seen his best friend Ned in anything, but the chemistry they have together is so charming. And Michael Keaton just fucking home run.
Yes.
It's one of the best roles I think I've ever seen him in.
That was the most unexpected part, because given the trailers that had given away everything, and they pretty much did, that second trailer did give away a lot of the plot.
Anyone who tells you the trailers did not give away the whole plot is just a liar.
Yeah,
and a
exactly.
fanboy. It did.
Yeah. But
There's
they
no
also,
beats coming in this story that you don't expect.
No, but they set him up. It looked like in the trailer to be just another generic Birdman type of villain, and it's a lot more nuance than that. There's a lot more texture to that
They
villain.
gave him a lot of meat. They really did.
You know what they did with this is they sort of went back to that Buffy the Vampire Slayer from TV model.
Yeah.
Where a guy has to do all this while taking his classes and everything. Now, they did that in the Tobey Maguire ones too, but it didn't have the same, you didn't feel the same pressures of his school.
Right.
Like, you didn't really care about his schoolwork or anything. And I guess you don't really hear, but you care about him being accepted in his high school and getting the girl and all of this type of stuff that you care about in high school movies. So this movie is very much like just a high school comedy for a while. There's not really, it's not real. The being Spider-Man is sort of almost incidental to it for a good chunk of this.
I saw a headline that said you could retitle this movie "The Perks of Being a Web Crawler."
Yeah.
And I thought that was clever. And there's probably a dozen similar headlines out there. And honestly, when I started hearing the good reviews that said this is really a high school comedy that happens to have a superhero in it, I was even less interested. I mostly just went because the reviews were so good. But once I got into the movie, I cared about that high school stuff way more than the action. And the action in this movie is not even all that great. I would go so far as to say one particular set piece is just confusing as hell.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I didn't care. I didn't care because I was having so much fun following this character. What's her name? Zendaya?
Yeah.
The girl who plays Michelle.
Yeah.
Fucking
She's
hilarious.
so
She's
good.
great, man.
Unexpectedly hilarious. Love a movie reuniting Marisa Tomei and Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were in the paper together.
That's they were.
They don't share any screen time here.
Right.
But they're both in the movie.
Well, apparently, didn't Robert Downey Jr. and Marisa Tomei date a long time ago too?
Oh, really?
I think so.
I think you're right.
That was something that was brought up when they had that Spider-Man interlude in
Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War.
Mhm.
But I guess the action in this, yeah, I mean they have to strike this weird balance, right? We know that. We know Spider-Man, the character, after 5 movies in the last 16 years and a reboot and all this other stuff. They have to give him something that is just above, as Tony said, their pay grade or whatever. When they bring up the Avengers, this is just a little bit below their pay grade. This is something a bit above his pay grade.
Yeah,
because he's just going around, snatching robbers and probably saving people from burning buildings. If all the Spider-Mans I've seen before this is any indication, they always had a newspaper saves a bunch of people from burning buildings.
Yeah.
He even had a scene with that. The action in this, in the non-spoilery way, is not good. It's not good at all.
No.
And that's weird that we're all giving this a positive review.
Yeah.
But it's not good because I don't really know. It's very confusing as to what the villains' motives are in this. There's a whole bunch of stuff like, I understand the motive as far as like they get out of a job basically, so that they become villains and whatever. I just didn't really understand what their end game was. Did you guys?
I think they're just making money.
Yeah, I think that
They steal
wanted
tech from
Yeah,
alien stuff and sell it to other thugs.
yeah.
and their supply was dwindling, and that's why they had to continue this. And anybody that was standing in their way,
that's what was, I guess, confusing to me. I was expecting this big, huge, like, motivation, like I want to do this to the Avengers, or I want to do this to the world, that type of thing. But in the end, it was just they were selling this stuff for money, and that was it.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the reason that it didn't make it up to on the Avengers radar, right?
Well, and I thought that was refreshing, that it felt like a more contained event and story for us to follow. And I get a little weary with the Avengers and all the alien shit, and alien armies, and now we're going to have Thanos and whatever the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to bring to the table. But it was refreshing, even though there's a bunch of alien tech in this movie. It was refreshing that we're not fighting an alien. Yeah. It's just, basically a little bit above common thief. He's smarter and has more capability, and I liked the intimacy of that, as opposed to him trying to destroy the world or kill Tony Stark or something. You know what I mean? It was refreshing to just kind of have it focused here, and where the villain is really in the middle. Tony's not going to waste his time on this right now, but Spider-Man still shouldn't be doing it.
It is right in the middle there.
And I think one of my favorite things about this movie is how much of a fuck up he is, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like in that early montage where he like retrieves a stolen bike and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Bashes that dude's head on the car who's using a Jimmy to get into it, and the guy's like, "It's my car!" And everybody's leaning out the windows going, "Hey, it's his car!" And Spider-Man's like, "I didn't know." He fucks up so much throughout this movie, and it really kind of flips the script, I think, in how you can view this character. Because we saw Tobey Maguire learning. We saw Andrew Garfield learning, and he makes a huge mistake at the end of the second movie, but we have not seen this level of mistake-ridden. He's got more ability than he does brains at this point. And he's raring to go. He's not going to stop, and he just keeps screwing up all over the place. I just freaking loved it.
Yeah, it's what a true beginner would be going through. Stuff that where they're not going to be complete successes and everything. That's always a refreshing thing, because that these other movies make it seem like once they get the abilities, they're suddenly experts at all the things that they're going to do with them. It's definitely fun to see somebody in their beginning sort of like, oh, I made a mistake there. I need to learn how to not do that next time, and so on and so forth.
Even that Staten Island Ferry action piece is Peter's fault. Because he doesn't understand the alien tech that, like, I thought from the trailer that the Vulture just sliced that thing down the middle and Spider's trying to save it. But no, that was Peter's fault. Yeah. And he almost got all those people killed.
Yeah.
And so Tony's anger afterwards is perfectly justified and rings a lot more true.
Well, let me ask you, before we go into spoilers, what about the action did you not like? Was it how cartoony Spidey was?
I mean, there's some part of that, sure.
I'm talking
but
independent of the last sequence that I know we'll get into, but like during the times where he's bouncing all over the place, especially when he's in the suburbs and stuff like that, it really got into like Rubber Neo type of stuff.
It does. Even that shot where he uses his armpit wings to fly onto the Staten Island ferry, it's like one shot from the wide and he's going left to right, and it looks like it was done in MS Paint.
Right.
Like there's no actual physics to that Spider-Man, even if it looks right. The way he floats onto that ship looks completely unnatural.
Right.
yeah.
And I liked the backyard stuff. It was really funny.
Yeah.
But you're right. It didn't look all that convincing.
We have, I mean, it's again, we have another issue of where everybody is and the rapid editing, and a lot of times we don't know where, we don't know where everybody is. It's just a lot of quick cuts to make it look like it's exciting, and that's par for the course these days. There's really not anything about these movies' action sequences that stand out as, oh, this is great. This is, I mean, we know that there's a heightened situation here that we should be excited about, but nothing that we can sort of just, get riveted with. There's nothing about it that, I think the best one, it may be that Staten Island ferry scene. That might be the best one, because even in that, you're not really sure what's going on, because they have to show him up close shooting all his webs.
I'm
and
so
you're
glad you said that. I was just about to jump in and say I want to compare the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 subway scene where he uses his webs to stop it.
Yeah.
And the same action of Spider-Man in this on the Staten Island ferry and how they're shot.
Yep.
And even when he was swinging through that ship, shooting all those webs, we don't get to see what's actually happening.
Yeah.
We're just seeing shots of him up close and shots of a bunch of webs hitting
and it's supposed to be this big, huge, surprising thing. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
We just like to see it.
Yeah.
Like it's that's the thing about these movies that they don't understand. They're always trying to come up with that, oh, he was doing that the whole time. Don't want to be surprised by every little thing.
Yeah.
Just show me what's going on. Like, I'm a little kid. I'm 4 years old. I want to see it.
Yeah. I also liked that he's kind of afraid of heights.
Yes.
And like when he's on top of the Washington Monument, he's like freaked.
I was wondering about that, though. He said that's the highest he's ever been. And I'm like, is that for real? Like, is that... He's been on a bunch of buildings, right?
Well,
in Civil War, I guess. So it seems like they're confining him to Queens and not to Manhattan.
Yeah.
So I don't know if in this universe, in this iteration, I don't know if he's been up to the top of World Trade Center or whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe not. It's a little confusing that... But I mean, yeah, we shouldn't like lend all of our past Spider-Man experience into this movie. But it is a little confusing when we know who Spider-Man is. We don't know exactly what he's done. And it feels like, to me, he's been on top of buildings before. Even in this movie, I swear he was.
Maybe.
And,
he may be.
And it's at some point where you're just like, if you've been on top of a building and you've done all this stuff before, then Washington Monument shouldn't be shit.
Yeah.
I do love when he goes, oh, I'm going to die.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's get into spoilers.
Let's do it.
Well, do you want to give our quick recommend type of thing?
I'm landing at a solid A. Time may drag it down to an A-.
I think this is absolutely an A. This is one of the best. It's one of the funniest superhero movies I've ever seen, and it's one of the more enjoyable ones I've ever seen. I wouldn't put this as the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen, because I think 2 is better.
Yeah.
But I think Tom Holland is by far the best Spider-Man.
I would agree with that. Yeah. They finally took the best things of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and found them all in one guy. And, I like the idea of casting so young that we're going to get to be with this guy for a while.
I'd probably put a B+. I'm not ready to give this an A. Though the action should be way better for this to be an A for me.
Well, and what's funny is I was going to give a disclaimer about how much I love this movie because I'm about to rip on it like crazy.
We're going to get into some spoilers here, so you don't want to listen to the rest of this if you want to watch Spider-Man unspoiled.
Yeah.
No spoilers! Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze.
Luke's father is actually Darth Vader. She's the sister and the daughter. They just
No. I'm reading the books.
I am ultimately really troubled by a handful of things. Mostly how techy Spider-Man's suit is.
Mm-hmm.
Tony needs toys and tech because he doesn't have powers.
Mm-hmm.
Peter's got powers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see an Iron Man Spider-Man suit. And yes, I know fans that there have been runs in the comics where Tony gives him an Iron Spider suit and what have you. I don't want to see that. And I liked it better when Peter was driving most of the design of his own stuff. He does a little of that in this movie. But he's got 300 different types of webs he can shoot out of his thing, and he's got a drone that can fly, and he's got a Jarvis, voiced by the actress married to the voice of Jarvis. Mm-hmm. I don't like the idea that he's like, hey, let's look at the footage. Oh, there's that guy? What's his name? Where does he live? Where can I go find Donald Glover right now? Spider-Man doesn't have to do any work if he's got a Jarvis there.
By the way, you're talking about Jennifer Connelly, right?
Yeah, she's married to Paul Bettany, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of bothers me. And while we're talking about the tech suit, the idea that two 15-year-olds could hack a Tony Stark designed suit without Tony Stark knowing it is fucking unacceptable.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to show that they're smart. I don't care if you want to show that the suit has been put in training wheels mode and he's going to experiment.
Well, and about that, why even have all this other stuff?
Yeah.
It just upgrade it later.
Yeah. You've already, by the end of this movie, he's built another suit.
Yeah.
Like,
I understand. You know what? It's these studios' inherent desire to always tease what's next. Like, see, there's going to be all this in his Spider-Man suit later on. That's going to be great, right? I'm not sure yet.
I don't want to see Spider-Man shooting spiderweb bombs that wait for 3 seconds and then tick and explode and splatter a guy against.
See, I'm okay with that. Because that to me was kind of fun. I agree totally about the Jarvis type of thing.
Yeah,
because that's just that's taking it over the top to where exactly he doesn't have to use his abilities to do this.
Right,
you're just making Iron Man again.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I will say, despite all that bitching about the suit, it does give us one of the best moments in the movie when he goes on intimidation mode with Donald Glover, and the voice unexpectedly goes really deep.
Yeah.
And that whole interaction is great. Donald Glover's like, you really need to get better at this. You're terrible at this.
Oh my God.
But again, I would rather see a natural Spider-Man. You've got to build web shooters, obviously, unless you go organic. But I don't need to see another Iron Man. We've already got Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That suit was one of my biggest problems, and to have 300 different webs and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I can only imagine how directors are going to use this later on in other Spider-Man movies, where it's just going to be an insane amount of options, and it's going to be like the Adam West Batmans, where he has a special tool for any little thing that he gets into
on his belt.
Yeah.
I mean, how long until bullets are going to bounce off the Spider-Man suit if they don't already? I mean, Spider-Man has always avoided bullets because he was quick and he had. Well, that's another thing. This Spider-Man apparently has no Spidey sense.
Oh yeah.
There's no Spidey sense in this movie at all, and maybe what they're going to do is have him develop it later because he's still an adolescent. I guess maybe his powers are still maturing as much as he is. But that's what kind of made him unique because that's real. That's based on science. Spiders actually have a sixth sense about stuff approaching them and whatnot. We took all that away and we gave him gizmos.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing, too much Tony. Now, I don't mind Tony being the mentor instead of Uncle Ben. But somebody online was like, there wasn't too much Tony. And I was like, he literally saves the day, all except for one time.
That's interesting because I actually expected more. There's when he's trapped under all that rocks, I figured at any second, Tony's going to show up.
Oh, but it's so good that he didn't, though.
Exactly. No, and those were the moments, there was a couple of them where, and even at that shitty action sequence at the very end, he doesn't show up to save him.
Well, the only reason he doesn't is because Happy hangs up on Ned like a dick.
Yeah, no shit.
There's no reason Iron Man shouldn't save the day there, except they had to script Happy to hang up on him so that Peter would have to do it by himself. And again, maybe there's not too much screen time for Tony, but Tony looms over the whole movie.
He's everywhere.
And, I'm a little Tony'd out at this point.
I did kind of like that party he was at in India.
Yeah.
It's like, are you driving?
Yeah.
I guess you guys don't necessarily share that particular gripe.
I think he shows up when he's, obviously he's there to tell Peter, you fucked up, don't fuck up again, that type of thing. And yeah, he does save the day a couple of times, but it's all set up to what he does by the end of it.
I still have a problem with the fact that Tony plucked a 15-year-old kid off the streets of New York and threw him into a battle in Civil War.
Yeah, by the way, they had a chance here to explain how Tony Stark knew he was Spider-Man just by YouTube videos.
Yeah.
They had a chance. They didn't do it unless it were some sort of Easter egg in the background somewhere that I didn't see.
That's so irresponsible I can't even fathom. We said it when we did the Sins video for Civil War. How does Spider-Man swing this battle? It's like 8 versus 8. Yeah. It's all superheroes, and we're going to bring in one.
And the answer is he didn't.
No.
So that was another problem that I had with it, by the way, because he has so much trouble fighting Vulture. Now, Vulture has this amazing tech and all that stuff, but it's still a middle-aged dude in a big suit, and doesn't have like the dexterity that some of the other superheroes do. And this guy, Spider-Man, had just previously fought Bucky, Captain America, Falcon, who's a much more agile version of Vulture.
Right.
And he's having all these fucking problems with him. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and do you guys think Marisa Tomei is hot or what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a joke because the movie keeps telling us she's hot. There are two moments in this movie where they go out of their way to point out how hot Marisa Tomei's character is.
There was Oscar winner, Jerry!
There was already that in Civil War with Tony saying it 2 times. Now, I'm not offended by hot women. I like hot women. I can call an attractive woman attractive. But do you realize how many hot women have been in Marvel movies and the characters have never called attention to it?
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, Natalie Portman, Kat Dennings, I can go on and on and on. And only Aunt May does every character in the world seem compelled to say, "Whoa, she's hot."
That's really her only character trait, right?
Well, here's what I think. You're right. Here's what I think. Somebody at Marvel had a huge Marisa Tomei crush 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're in a position of power now, and now that we've cast her, they're having a little bit too much fun with it.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason I can think of for the movie to keep stopping and pointing out how hot Aunt May is.
Yeah. I guess it's just that the Aunt May character has traditionally been seen as like this ends up being spinsterly, elderly, and that kind of thing. When, given his age, she should be right around Marisa Tomei's kind of demographic.
Yeah,
but no, I see what you're saying, though.
I love the last beat of the film. The way the film ends is fantastic, and they're changing a lot about the Aunt May dynamic, and I'm fine with that. Let's explore this, but I hope we don't have to keep telling me how hot she is in the next movie. I get it.
Yeah.
You told me in Civil War. You told me twice in this movie.
But yeah, that I think that's when you don't give someone a character to play.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically that's what you end up just saying all the time. Well, she's hot.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because we have an Oscar winner, Jerry. We have an Oscar winner, and it would have been a lot. I don't know where they would have made her character better in this movie.
Yeah.
It would have been kind of hard, but at the same time, they didn't need to go through the whole, she's really pretty, isn't she? She's Marisa Tomei.
An extra helping of rice pudding or something like that.
Yeah.
And the deli guy right to Peter's face. Of course, he's speaking Spanish, but the deli guy's like, he's got a hot Italian aunt.
Yeah. So the beginnings of this movie are, I guess, right after the big Avengers battle in the first one, first Avengers.
What'd you think about that? Going back again to the New York incident as the catalyst.
I mean, it's almost like all these movies now, even the DC universe, have to go back to the destruction that the Avengers are partially, or they're responsible for, and mining more territory out of it. And this one's another one where you're just like, this has been happening for 8 years.
Yeah.
Tony Stark knows who Spider-Man is by YouTube videos, but he doesn't know who somebody's selling alien technology.
It makes sense in establishing Vulture's backstory and his career and how he gets, basically. I don't know how Stark causes the destruction in the Avengers and then gets the contract to clean it all up. Because it was his company that forced Keaton out of work.
Exactly. I mean, they made a crack at it. Like, oh, the people that did this, now they're getting all the money for cleaning
it shouldn't be that way, but it's probably the way it would work.
Well, yeah, but there's also the fact there's this alien technology that they don't want out on the streets. That was the whole reason why. Now, the Michael Keaton characters obviously got justified in being extremely angry about this because they weren't planning on doing that with that stuff. I think they were planning on having it all in this one thing and give it to the government and all that. I think if that's what and they weren't.
Well, they were the middlemen. Yeah,
they weren't planning on, but. At the same time, you got to think about how governments think, and they're not going to trust everybody on some dude's crew to not steal one of those things and start, doing stuff with it. So yeah, I mean that's some backstory there that I'm not sure was entirely fleshed out, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's what comic books always do, right? They've always got to find that connection to other stories to grow this new one and say, okay, well, from every action that happens, there's a new action that occurs and everything. So there's always got to have those roots down deep in every little thing that they do. They can't be, I don't know. It's just something that they want to do to connect it.
They even dropped when he was in history class. They mentioned the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
Again, I have more of a problem with Coincidence Dad than I do any of that stuff.
Well, that's the biggest one. One of my biggest problems with this movie.
I read an interview
always
yesterday.
do that, don't they?
They're so proud of it. They're so proud of it. I read an interview with the filmmaker. By the way, the reason the action in this movie is not so great is the guy made Cop Car before this. And I love Cop Car, but there's not much action. I'm pretty sure he was hired because of how good he was with kids and adolescents in that movie. And he does great with that in this movie, but he just doesn't have the experience with the action.
Every Spider-Man movie has to have Peter know the villain intimately somehow.
It's annoying.
Or it's someone related to the villain somehow. Every single time. And I understand, okay, they must be just going by this formula at this point, that always has to have a connection somehow.
What's funny is he was talking in the article I read yesterday and said originally Keaton was going to be Peter's teacher. And then they decided to go this route. So there was always going to be a direct connection to Peter for Michael Keaton's character, and I get tired of that. Now, that being said, it does lead to one of the best scenes in the movie.
In the car?
Yeah, when Michael Keaton figures out who Peter is.
Oh, yeah, and he does it by sort of clues. He doesn't do it by some stupid, stumble in on him while he's dressing up.
Blood drop from the ceiling.
Yeah, that type of thing.
It's his brain.
Yeah.
And it's a very
great.
tense scene.
Yeah.
You can tell how rocked Peter is when he gets out of the car. So, again, this is how this movie works, is that it annoys you with something really stupid, but then it redeems itself by using that stupid thing to create something awesome.
I love that scene so much because he's getting exactly what he wants out of his personal life.
Yeah.
And he truly just rocked. And he's in that car just looking straight ahead, trying to giggle with his girlfriend for a second. And then he's going back this is the judgment that I have to make. Am I just going to give up on this wonderful relationship that I'm starting and do what I have to do? And ultimately he does.
And there's even a little bit of morality with Keaton here because he's like, I'm going to let you live because you saved my daughter's life. So, yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
And we don't get that if he's not Liz's dad or whatever, but the coincidence of him being Liz's dad is just really staggering.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, you're right. They do make up for it. They're like, okay, we know that there's going to be this bullshit whammy thing that we're going to unleash on you that we're proud of, but we're going to give you this scene, and it is one. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time, if ever. Usually there's the reasons for the villain knowing who the hero is silly stuff like the blood on the ceiling or
Bane just saying Mr. Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. In this one you have so many different things that add up to it, and if we were if we were actually sending this and he couldn't figure it out for some reason, we would have been like, dude, he was nervous. The girlfriend said he was in Washington at the time. There was all this, it's like,
What's funny is I leaned over to my friend Jason when Peter's still at the house and Vulture doesn't know who he is. Michael Keaton doesn't know he's Spider-Man. I leaned over to Jason. I was like, he already knows he's Spider-Man. Because they were talking about the field trip or something before they got in the car. They said something that made me think, oh, he's going to put it together from that. And then I was totally wrong. I'm glad to be wrong. The scene was great. He does put it together through details about that trip. Like Peter's like, oh, I wasn't up there. I saw the whole thing from the ground. And
well, yeah, his girlfriend gives the whole thing away, by the way. If she had just shut up,
although
it probably would have been fine.
Point of fact, she's not his girlfriend. This is their first date. But the movie will later try and bring a cheap laugh out of Peter saying, my girlfriend's dad or whatever.
Right, yeah. Let's talk about that horrible scene at the end.
Oh my God, damn.
So the whole point of that is they're trying to steal all this stuff that's supposed to be, I guess, improvements for the Avengers stuff. It's on this big, huge plane, and he, as Vulture, is going to go in and he's going to take it and all that. It leads to, I mean, of course, Vulture has to like pull Spidey up into the air, and this is another Iron Man thing. Like that, I was sitting there going, this is exactly what happened in Iron Man. He pulls him all the way up above the clouds and all that. Of course, he brings Spidey along for the ride onto this plane, and then the plane, there's just a series of explosions and crashes, and
I literally could not tell. That's one of the most confusing action scenes.
They did
I've
it on
ever
purpose,
seen.
man. Okay, so the plane, for those of you who haven't seen it or somehow listening to the spoiler talk, it's got like an invisibility cloak kind of technology on the outside, but through the fight starts to break down, and then you get these strobing lights all over the body of this plane that I'm convinced are just to fuck with me, so I can't tell what's going on because they couldn't shoot it to look cool.
There's smoke everywhere. It's dark.
Yeah.
Like you literally can't. Huge movie screen. It's not like I'm watching it on my phone or something like that.
Right.
I had no idea what was going on.
Well, yeah, and I think there was one point where I was like, okay, this is happening, and then it cuts, and it was something that just completely out of context, didn't make any sense. You just like it was almost like it crashed, and then you see Spider-Man just sitting there watching the crash. Almost that's how weird it felt to me, or whatever. Yeah, man. I don't know what it is. I think is it because people are lazy, or they don't know how to shoot an action scene anymore, or what's going on with this?
I don't know. I think Jeremy's right. I think they intentionally tried to obfuscate it by throwing all these darkness and the smoke and the lights and stuff like that, just to say, hey, this is really cool, I promise. And then there's a couple of effects where like he doesn't get sucked through the engine because he's shot his web, but you don't see him shooting his web. So it's just like it's very confused.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about that earlier with the how they show him shooting the webs. We hardly ever get to see it actually go to its location. They show him up close, and especially during the Staten Island ferry scene, where you just, but that end scene is so dark, man. It's so dark. It's like you might as well have just made that a total black scene.
Just give us audio.
Audio. and just had a whole bunch of like, pow and zowie and all that type of stuff showing up.
Which is it's kind of frustrating it gets to this point, because even though we rag on the Marvel action movies, that this kind of scene should be one they should be able to do well. They've done enough Iron Man stuff over the course of all these movies that, an aerial plane battle should not be that difficult for me to know who's where and what's happening. But, they just screwed the pooch on that one. I do love that moment when he's going through all the backyards and he comes up to the field and shoots his web and it just keeps going. This has nothing for it to attach to. This movie is full of moments like that with unexpected laughs. Like when he's fighting in the school bus, gets thrown into the school bus and he sees all the gum under the seat and goes, oh, gross. And then just goes right back to fighting.
Here's a guaranteed sin for the movie, though, by the way. During the scene where he's running through all the yards and everything, I was like, oh, perfect Ferris Bueller's outtake. And then he runs into a yard where they're actually showing Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah. And I was like, movie steals one of our outtakes.
They sure did. It's nice.
No, the unexpected laughs are great. I saw it in a very empty theater, so I was like the only one like audibly laughing, but I was like the when his friend Ned is, doing the computer stuff in the library and the teacher catches him and he's like, I was looking at porn. It takes
forever to know where he's going. The entire sentence, and it's like he's trying to figure out, is there anything else I can say? There really isn't. I have to go with porn here.
That character is really one of the. If it's not for Tom Holland being so awesome, he steals the movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
His reactions to the whole thing are exactly like what a 15-year-old kid would be like when he knows that his best friend is Spiderman.
Yeah.
And like he wants to tell everybody. He hasn't had to go through all the discipline and everything that that Tom Holland's going through right now. And it's like he wants to blurt it out anywhere possible, and they're in the gym, and the hot girls like, I really like Spider-Man, and they're like some people bagging on Spider-Man, like he's probably some 30-year-old dude, like that's really old, and the hot girl's like, no man, I'm gonna probably be all about it and everything, and he's like, Peter, no Spider-Man.
When he's peppering him with all those questions, like, do you lay eggs? He's like, no, what are you it's just so funny. And my favorite laugh is when he goes to the prom and everybody's waving at him from across the hall, and then that Michelle girl just flips him off.
Yeah.
The greatest thing is that dude is back in the hat, by the way. He's like, the hat's not working. You gotta get back here, and then he wears it to the homecoming.
Yeah.
I was glad to see them make Flash not a hulking bully who just wants to kick Peter's ass. Like, he needles Peter in ways that feel like a high schooler would.
Yeah.
But he's also not a real threat in this movie. We don't have to go through this whole Peter fighting Flash thing again. And he gets his comeuppance.
Well, and somehow, some way, they made Penis Parker funny. Yeah, it just because the guy keeps doing it. Like he always finds this funny. His character does, and he's even DJing like you say Parker, I say penis, you say Parker, penis Parker.
It's like it's probably not a good idea to come back in this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god! And the last one was when Jon Favreau calls him out of class to get him out and take him to the Avengers compound. And he starts into this, like, you really saved my ass. And this kid comes out of the stall.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes on for like 30 seconds where he's like literally washing his hands and everything.
And he gives him the greatest look on the way out. You two are dirty. I look down on you.
Yeah, because there's even a point where, Peter asks him, like, how long you been here? Long enough to be, like, uncomfortable or whatever.
Well, what about the very end? What about the whole Pepper Potts cameo and the...
I'm fine with it.
The link to the Avengers? I thought that was okay.
Yeah, considering that Pepper Potts hasn't shown up since Iron Man 3, it's kind of a nice little touch to have her show up here, and I don't know what the various reasons for Gwyneth Paltrow not being able to be available for all the other stuff is or whatever. She's always kind of in the background, like, Pepper said this or whatever. But it is kind of a nice little Easter egg, or not Easter egg, but a little, I guess, a gift for Marvel fans to see Pepper Potts show up at the end of this, even though she wasn't showing up in all the other like MCU stuff.
I thought that was a nice way to tie it up of him saying, okay, we're going to promote you to full Avenger, and him just saying, I'll go back and actually like learn this stuff that I'm supposed to be doing.
I agree, but I feel like Tony, he can't figure out how fast or slow to go with this kid, because there's no reason I don't think for Tony to offer him a spot as the newest Avenger at the end of this movie. He didn't fuck up once. Finally, he didn't fuck up.
Yeah.
He's still 15.
Yeah.
He's still going to fuck up more. And Tony not only wants to add him to the Avengers, he's built this whole new suit and called 50 members of the press out. And I'm just like, no, hit the brakes, dude. Why are you moving so fast? I get the moment because we want to see that Peter himself has grown. And I think that's the only reason this is called Homecoming.
Yeah.
The movie's called Homecoming. There's a homecoming dance, but thematically, Homecoming doesn't really make much sense to me here.
No, it's all about resetting. What this is all about. I was sitting there thinking the same thing. I was like, this doesn't have anything to do with the dance at all.
Yeah.
There's no real special thing about the dance other
it's
than
shown for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, and the character doesn't go anywhere to where he has to come home, even symbolically.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, is what they're trying to do at the end. Like, I'll just play in Queens That's his homecoming, I guess. I don't know. Kind of a little weak.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Did you guys see the end credit thing?
No, I have cut ties with that bullshit.
Oh, me too.
I literally leaned over to Jason and said, right when the credits started, I was like, I'll meet you outside. I don't watch this shit anymore.
No, I agree. And the only reason I stuck around for it is because right as the credits rolled, I checked my phone and it was that stream of emails about the 7 million subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was streaming through those and trying to respond and everything, and accidentally made it through 75% of the credits. So I was just like, fuck, I might as well stick around for another. And it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's Captain
I don't
America.
know. I
Have
think
you
it's
seen
a
it?
big fat fuck you.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I mean, you don't know anything
I
about
have
it.
no idea what
it's
it is.
Captain America lecturing you about patience, and then there's actually nothing. There's no point to it. He's trolling the audience for waiting.
That is a kind of a funny
it's
thing.
one of those PSAs where he comes on screen in the school that they show.
Yeah. That was a kind of
There's
a funny.
also a scene in the middle of the credits with Vulture and another inmate. I didn't
Nacho.
see either. They never add anything to the movie. I can always watch them or read about them online immediately after. And I'm, 7 minutes, 10 minutes? It's too precious to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here with these stinky people.
That was a funny part of the movie too. Was a couple of moments where he shows up on those videos and everything.
And Hannibal Buress
Hannibal
is
Buress.
I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now.
Yeah.
Music.
Yes.
It opens with Giacchino doing his version of the 70s Spider-Man TV thong song.
Thong song?
And it's great.
Yes, it is.
And he never comes back to it. And I like Giacchino. I need to watch this movie more to be sure, but I'm pretty sure his Spider-Man theme is 4 notes.
I'm trying to remember it, yeah.
Well, that's the other problem, is that how much more memorable it would have been if he'd stuck with that motif from the opening minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I guess that's all I have to say about the music.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for this mini pod of Spider-Man Homecoming. We all enjoyed it.
Yep.
It has its problems for sure. Where would you rank this as far as the superhero movies of this summer?
Oh.
What were the other ones?
Wonder Woman and Guardians.
Wonder Woman, Guardians, and I guess we could throw in Logan.
And we'll throw in Logan too. I still think Logan might be the best out of all the year.
I think you might be right.
Wonder Woman is right there by Logan, I think. I think it's about even.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like this better than Wonder Woman.
You like this better than Wonder Woman?
I mean, they both had the same issues with the
I mean, they had.
action
I mean,
and
you
everything.
could cut the stuff from Wonder Woman into the ending of this; it wouldn't make any difference.
Suddenly, she's battling a god.
Yeah, wouldn't make any difference. No difference whatsoever.
Oh my god!
But no, I think I liked Wonder Woman a little bit better than this. Although Spider-Man has definitely got it's got more on, as far as humor is concerned. Wonder Woman has at least one great action set piece in it. So I would consider them around the same. I mean, Logan, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man Homecoming, you can't really...
It's a
you can't go
massive
wrong.
upgrade from last year.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with those. And Guardians of the Galaxy too, even though I didn't like that completely, it's still good. So all the comic book movies this year have been successes, I think.
Well, we still got half the year to go. Which one's going to flop?
You have Justice League, you have Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok does look fun, though.
It does.
Justice League still looks like a slog to me.
Justice League looks
Is
shitty.
that coming out this year?
Yeah, November, I think.
Comes around Thanksgiving. I think.
Yeah, that'll be the one. That'll be the turd.
That'll be an interesting November because Thor comes out the beginning of November, and then Justice League comes out like 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for this mini pod of Spider-Man Homecoming. If you disagree with us, let us know in SoundCloud comments. And if you just want to say fuck you or something like that, go ahead.
Or something nice.
That's right. I mean,
We're not.
I take fuck you as nice.
Oh, that's
You
true.
say, hey, they want to fuck me. All right. Well, that'll do it for this mini pod of Spider-Man Homecoming. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
What was it? It was one of the deep thoughts with Jack Handy where it was like, what was it?
Are you talking about the God is crying one?
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
What is it? The kid
He's
is
like,
asking,
why does it rain? And it says, the father says, because God is crying. And the kid goes, why is God crying? Probably because of something you did.
Those were the best. Jesus. I would not have said that.
I'm just saying,